Hey everyone, we're going to start out with the disc golf backhand. In my experience, this is one of the most complex single motions I've ever had to learn, and a lot of players find it frustrating. And the problem with this move is that it requires you to have fairly precise control over progression of movements that generate maximum force on the disc. The target is to your side, and so many of us are not trained or comfortable taking motions and maximizing force in that direction and translating linear forces into rotation. And so what we're going to do is have to address a couple of challenges. One is to sort of isolate and reinforce some of the basic movements to begin and end in dynamic balance. So you've all seen players that start, they have some sort of address position toward the basket, and then they move through the flow of motions for the backhand and end up often balanced on their right leg if they're a right-hand backhand dominant player. So in order to progress through this, we have to isolate some of the core mechanics, and we can reduce them principally through the standstill throw. So conceptually, there are a lot of words used to describe the disc golf backhand. You want to use it as a sling or as a whip or similar terminology. And one of the challenges in this terminology is that your body isn't exactly an elastic slingshot. It's not precisely a rawhide whip. It's muscle and tendon and fascia and bones and all of these systems that have to work together to put force on the disc. Another problem that we have is we want to engage the same musculature that we would use to throw a much heavier object to apply maximum force on the disc, but our brains have these automatic mechanisms that treat light objects differently. You're not inclined to take something that's relatively lightweight and then put all of these major muscle groups into it to project a disc out to your side to your target. It's not quite natural for most of us. So some of these motions are going to be using things that are relatively easy to learn to sort of trick your brain into engaging the right mechanics in order to maximize that force to the target. Now, what are we going to do that's different from perhaps other instructional techniques out there? Well, I have a background in martial arts and dance, and one of the things that I had a very hard time doing was finding the ideal angles and positions, and maybe moreover be able to synchronize my upper and lower body through the technique. So I'm going to use some tricks from my background in those experiences, and then try to point out cross-references to things like ball golf or baseball or similar motions that help you integrate your body. So we're going to start from the ground up. It's important to engage the earth and gravity and our footwork in a way to help our bodies generate those linear forces that maximize that rotational hit onto the disc. And by moving from the ground up, what we'll do is we're finding that we're building leverage on leverage on leverage. And so again, what we're going to do is find that our muscles are generating linear forces, right? They move in straight lines that cause rotational actions, right? And so we want that to happen automatically as we move up what we often call the kinematic chain in the throw and engage that sequence correctly.
Here's a progression of the fundamental move disc golf backhand. The intention of this is to help you see how all of these motions are interconnected so that when you move through the specific modules to come, you can return to this to understand how it pieces together. So we need to start in a position where our center of gravity around your belly button is leveraged between your drive leg, the one farthest from the target, and the plant leg, the one that's closest to the target. Notice that my ankles are outside of my knees, which are slightly outside my hips for maximum leverage. From this position, we're going to step back and forth, toe heel with a complete weight shift, maintaining the center of gravity between the feet. And here from a side position, we can go directly forward and back from the target. Eventually we'll stride out a bit away from ourselves. And we're going to drive from that rear leg, extend the calf, the quad, and the glute, sometimes called a triple extension of that rear leg. We can make the stride longer. You need to lead with your butt. This is the basis for rotation and driving the weight forward into the plant stride. As you drive your hip forward with that drive leg, it will automatically begin rotation because it's a ball and socket joint. And we want to move directly with that stride to inherit the weight into the brace. The drive leg can extend into longer plant strides. This gives us more separation and power with the same dynamic. Now add a little bit of a drop and squat into that plant step. That's going to assist you with gravity and follow through. And your swing is going to occur relative to a closed shoulder. This is what's going to aid acceleration through the arm. You start in dynamic balance from that drive leg and move through that swing. Balance the entire way, center of gravity leveraged between the legs. The arm opening out relative to that closed shoulder, as though driving a nail into the wall to our right. This gives the basis of the overall motion of the form. As you can see here, there are many ways to understand and misunderstand the off arm. We're not quite reaching for the pocket. We're not quite punching directly down. Instead, what we want to do is engage the arm in such a way that we protract our shoulders and drive the hips forward to the target. So here I'm emphasizing driving the hips toward the target. And that will assist this rotation and the hip drive toward the target. Pulling the shoulders in, engaging some of the back musculature into a reflex. Those punches and swing moves are counter rotation and follow through to that initial elbow action. You're going to tighten up the entire throw, add centripetal force, and open that out toward the target as you rotate through the hips, up through the shoulder, and through the arm. So again, this should naturally accelerate the movement forward in rotation, assisting that lower body with the upper body. And I best learned this using a don't spill the beverage mechanism, which you'll see linked below. The swing plane isn't flat. We need to have the core and oblique slings add additional power. This flat swing arc or direct reback won't do it. If we swing up and under, we can load that core and the oblique slings, which give a spiraling musculature to aid the throw. So you can see here in my motion, it's much more linear and static. If I reach under, it loads dynamically. And I can pull through from that motion. We'll use pendulum drills to help you find a natural synchronization between your body and gravity. If you swing down, you'll naturally feel how the rear arm can assist the momentum of the forward arm into the throw. And that's following the hips and helping drive that rear shoulder, which drives the arm toward the target. So the backhand is fundamentally a lagged compound pendulum swing that whips our arm on the path we use to smash a nail directly to our side.